Oh, good, you can't hear me. Hello everyone, bonjour à tous. C'est un grand plaisir d'être ici avec vous aujourd'hui. I wish to start by acknowledging that this event is taking place on the unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people. And I have a great pleasure today to be here with our Deputy Prime Minister, Chrystia Freeland, as well as some of our provincial colleagues. We have the Finance Minister, Selena Robinson. We also have the Minister of State for Childcare and my local MLA, Katrina Chen. So thank you, everyone, for being here today. Selena was actually telling us a story about when she was up here at SFU and she needed childcare services and she couldn't afford them, and hopefully that is a problem that is going away thanks to the work of some of our wonderful guests here today and a great collaboration between the federal and provincial government. This past year has been incredibly difficult for everyone, but for parents and especially women, it has been exceptionally difficult. The closing of schools and daycares this past year has negatively impacted women's ability to work. This is something that I've seen in my own household. My wife is a young manufacturer of sinks and tubs, and the difficulty of dealing with and balancing childcare has been very significant. It's something that I've grown sincerely empathetic towards. Whenever I see a parent, I just want to paint their house or do whatever I can to help them out. I mean, it's just so hard to deal with all the affordability issues here locally and have childcare stacked on top of that, on top of trying to continue your normal work. I'm glad that we're doing this event here at Simon Fraser University's Childcare Centre. I am not just a fan, I am also a client. We just recently visited my daughter Nova, who's 2.5 years old and is attending just down the road. She almost fell asleep on the Deputy Prime Minister's shoulder. It was quite a wonderful moment. The Deputy Prime Minister has described this initiative and this significant investment in Budget 2021 as providing a massive investment to generate the next generation of super kids. I also think, because of the effect that it's going to have on family, I think it's really going to help promote a next generation of super mums as well. So I think this has benefits all around. And what has been really great, talking to people on the doorsteps and locally, families are really behind this, but also our chambers of commerce are really behind this. Our boards of trade are really behind this. Economists from around the world say that if you want to come back better, if you want to rebuild your economy, you need to invest in women, you need to invest in families, and this significant announcement today is doing a big part of that. I think I've already stolen more thunder from our guest speakers, and I'd rather leave it to them. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce our Deputy Prime Minister, also our Minister of Finance, Chrystia Freeland. Thank you, Chrystia.
Well, thank you very much, Terry, for your kind introduction and for hosting me here in Burnaby and for giving me a chance to get reacquainted with your beautiful daughter, Nova, and to spend a little bit of time with her. I can see that political charm runs in the family. I'd also like to thank my colleagues Randeep, Sukh, and Ken, who invited me to their Surrey community earlier today. It is so good to be here in BC and to hear directly from early learning and childcare educators, from families and children, and from business leaders about how the pandemic has affected them and what are the most important things we need to do to ensure that we have a strong and resilient economic recovery. I'd like to start by acknowledging that we're here today on the ancestral and unceded territory of the Tsleil-Waututh, the Musqueam, and the Squamish nations. I'd like to take a minute to address the emergency that British Columbians and Canadians are facing. There are currently around 250 wildfires burning in this beautiful province. Many communities are under evacuation order, and the smoke from these fires has blanketed much of Western Canada. I know the air quality has been bad and that many people have faced health challenges as a result. I'll be meeting with firefighters and their families later this afternoon to hear from them firsthand. I think we all know that they are real heroes. The Canadian Armed Forces have sent air assets and personnel to help respond to this emergency, including airlifting first responders and equipment. And we have committed, alongside our colleagues from the province of British Columbia, to matching every dollar donated to the Red Cross BC Wildfire Appeal Fund between July 3rd and August 2nd. So what that means is that every dollar a Canadian donates becomes $3. This money will support a range of emergency services and ensure the Red Cross is able to support Canadians who have had to flee from their homes. A Team Canada approach is absolutely necessary whenever we face great challenges. I think the pandemic has reminded us of that once again. And now we have to do everything we can to make sure that our recovery from the COVID recession leaves no one behind, to make sure that our economic policies heal the wounds of COVID. Now, as we heard from Terry, COVID has really exposed something that women have known for a long time. Without childcare, parents, usually mothers, can't work. The closing of schools and childcare centers drove women's participation in the labor force down to its lowest level in over 2 decades. Early learning and childcare has long been a feminist issue. COVID has shown us that it is an urgent economic issue as well. In our recent budget, we committed up to $30 billion over 5 years, with $2.9 billion in permanent funding to make this long-held dream a reality. We committed to work with provinces, like our friends in British Columbia, and territories to build Canada-wide early learning and childcare systems. And we committed to building a pan-Canadian system that gives all young families access to affordable, inclusive, flexible, and crucially high-quality care. Early learning and childcare is an economic policy that delivers a jobs and growth hat trick. By allowing both mothers and fathers to work, it increases our labor force, and that boosts economic growth. It creates good jobs for mostly women early learning and childcare educators. And again, as Terry pointed out, it helps us to raise a generation of better educated, better prepared, smarter Canadian children. This morning, I was at the Surrey Board of Trade to speak with business leaders who have long understood this. They've been pioneers, actually, and have advocated for a very long time for the importance from a business perspective of investing in early learning and childcare. They understand that childcare is essential social infrastructure needed to drive jobs and growth. Just as we have roads to transport goods and power grids to run factories, we need childcare to support our workforce and help all Canadians reach their full potential. And I just want to take a moment today to salute Rachel. Wave so people can see you. Rachel and her amazing team here. My colleague Terry's daughter is educated and cared for here, and I can see why Terry trusts the amazing educators here with the most precious person in his life, his daughter. If my kids were still young enough and I lived here, I would love for my kids to go here. And I do also want to say it's been nice to talk to the leaders of Simon Fraser University, and they confirmed for me something that I have heard from other university leaders across the country, which is that having great, high-quality, affordable early learning and childcare helps us to recruit the very best people to come live and work in Canada, including at great universities like Simon Fraser. Plus tôt ce mois-ci, le Premier ministre Trudeau et le Premier ministre Horgan ont annoncé que nos gouvernements avaient conclu une entente historique pour aider à améliorer les services réglementés d'apprentissage et de garde de jeunes enfants ici, en Colombie-Britannique. Nos gouvernements travailleront ensemble pour atteindre une tarif moyenne de $10 par jour pour toutes les places en garderie réglementée pour les enfants ayant moins de 6 ans d'ici la fin de l'entente de 5 ans. Earlier this month, the Prime Minister and Premier Horgan announced that our two governments had reached a truly historic agreement to help improve regulated early learning and childcare here in BC. As part of this agreement, British Columbians will see a 50% reduction in average parent fees for children under 6 in regulated childcare by the end of next year. And our governments will work together to achieve an average $10 a day fee for all regulated childcare spaces for children under 6 by the end of the 5-year agreement. We are also working with First Nations, Inuit, and the Métis Nation to ensure Indigenous children will have access to affordable, high-quality, and culturally appropriate early learning and childcare. I am so glad to have had the chance to meet with business leaders, with university leaders, with early learning and childcare educators, with a few wonderful children today who understand the importance of this initiative. And I would really also like to acknowledge the very hard work of my colleague, Ahmed Hussein, who has been driving this from the federal government side, with someone he speaks of very highly, but who I've only had the chance to meet today for the first time, his BC counterpart, Katrina Chen. And of course, my BC counterpart, with whom I have spoken many, many times. She even gives me marriage advice. That's actually true, guys. Many times, but met in person today for the first time, Selena Robinson. Her personal commitment to making this happen was absolutely essential to concluding our really essential agreement with the province of BC. So let's keep working together to make sure that BC continues to be a leader in early learning and childcare, and to make sure that every single child in this amazing province continues to have the very best start in life, as I saw firsthand beautiful Nova has cared for here. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much, Chrystia. And for our next speaker, I get to introduce my MLA. I also happen to be her MP, the Minister of State for Childcare, somebody who has worked extensively on this file, Katrina Chen. Katrina.
Thank you so much, Terry, my local MP for this area as well, for the Burnaby Mountain area. And also thanks so much, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance from our province. I just want to begin by recognizing that we're gathering here on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish peoples. And I have a lot of thanks to share, especially, well, of course, we'll talk about the joint work that we're doing with Canada, which is historical. I remember the day we did the announcement with the Prime Minister and Minister Hussein, and Minister Hussein and I did a little video together, and we were chatting, and he's like, today is a historical day. We're going to remember today forever. And I was like, totally, because we've been talking and discussing with advocates and early childhood educators for so many years about a national child care plan. And it is happening, and BC is the first one to do it. So I'm so excited to be able to meet the Deputy Prime Minister, and also working with our Minister of Finance. As you can see, when women work together, we get things done. So thank you. And speaking of women, early childhood educators in BC, there's 97% of this workforce are women. And I definitely also want to begin by giving a huge shout out to SFU Childcare, to Rachel, to Jacqueline, to your whole team and your educators who've gone through such a difficult time. There were a time when our community right here at SFU, I cannot think of a better place to do this announcement today, because SFU was a community that was hit hard by COVID. I was getting tons of emails, phone calls, local families calling me about the impact of COVID on this community. And then, of course, the childcare center was affected. And the one message I keep hearing from parents is that we need to continue to support this amazing childcare and support our educators for the work that they do. We cannot go to work without the childcare services. We are unable to continue their studies without the childcare services. And this is a growing community here right at SFU. There's more and more people moving in here every year, and there's more buildings, as you can see from the construction noise, that there's more housing and the SFU. And I also want to thank our amazing partners from the SFU Childcare Society and also from Simon Fraser University, including President Joey Johnson, who we've had such a strong relationship with over the past years. That we're able to do so much for this growing community, including the student housing. Also thanks to our finance minister for funding the student housing expansion here, with the childcare expansion, including the before and after school care at University Highland on school ground, partnering with the CD, partnering with the local school district. I cannot think of a better place to talk about childcare because this community is so strong. And even during the most challenging time, the local parents work together with my community office, and also really thank for MP Terry Beech's support. We've always worked so strongly together as a team to make sure we recognize the work of early childhood educators, because parents love our early childhood educators so much, and we put together goodie bags. That was such a great experience. And it just shows the love from the community to SFU Childcare. So can we just please give all the educators and professionals at this center a big hand? So they continue to serve throughout COVID and continue to come back to work, and that's why they want, I heard about the Prime Minister's Award for their 2 staff, amazing staff that have done such an incredible work, and all of their staff, they've gotten this year's annual Provincial Award as well. And we need more services like this to be able to benefit families. And I remember when I started this work in 2017 and 18, parents were struggling with lack of access to affordable, high-quality childcare, but we have done a lot of work since then with our Childcare BC plan to bring down the cost of childcare, to accelerate the creation of spaces. We've actually supported and funded over 26,000 spaces in short 2 and 3 years since we started the New Spaces program, including some spaces here right at SFU. And we have been making sure that you cannot build a universal, inclusive early learning and care system without a well-supported workforce. So we need wage enhancement, we need bursary programs, we need continuing workforce support to make sure early childhood educators are well compensated and supported. And the agreement with Canada will help to accelerate that. We started our Childcare BC plan as a 10-year plan. And now with the federal funding support, I think we're going to be able to see relief way faster. So now for centers like SFU, just to put it in context, that parents are already seeing a fee reduction of up to $350 per month with our BC plan. But with the additional funding from the federal government, we're going to reduce childcare fee by 50% by the end of next year, which is only about a year and a half away. Staff are working really hard throughout the summer to make sure we bring those relief to families and parents. But at the same time, we need to continue to build spaces, because it does take time for a space to be up and running. And with the federal investment, we're going to accelerate that space creation to reach for 30,000 spaces together that we will have to make sure that they're inclusive and affordable and joining our Childcare BC plan. And again, we cannot build a system without the workforce. So the province is stepping up, and thanks to Minister Robinson, we're doing wage enhancement. We're going to make sure early childhood educators also can see a wage grid in a coming year or 2. And that's, again, thanks to the federal agreement, that we need to make sure this is a workforce that has better compensation, more predictable wages, and stability for our early childhood educators. So there's a lot more work that we have to do. And childcare is also very personal to me, because as a mother, a working parent, also an immigrant without any family here other than my 7-year-old, I struggle with childcare almost on a daily basis. And I want to thank Jacqueline and Rachel. We were talking about summer plans that I am, trying to figure out how do I deal with my son's summer break and also before and after school care. And this is really a team effort. As a mother, I cannot thank all the partners and early childhood educators who have been working together to make sure families like mine has a choice, has an option to continue the work I do. But we cannot do it without each other's support. So thank you all for your incredible work, and I look forward to bringing those relief to families and continue to bring those relief to families as soon as possible. Thank you so much.
So that concludes the speech part of this. We're going to have a media veil. I do want to say thank you to the three mothers who, you know, really suffered through it to take care of their kids and are now making sure that things are going to be easier for families going forward. My family is going to personally benefit from it, but there's going to be millions of families that are going to benefit from it. So thank you very much for all this hard work. And I think we've seen the complexity of exactly what this is from the speeches that we've had today. I'm going to turn the microphone over to Kat, who will handle the media availability with all of our dignitaries that are here today.
All right. So we will take one question, one follow-up. There's a microphone over there for media if they'd like to use it.
I've got a question here from Mickey Cohen of the CBC. In January, you said former Governor General Julie Payette's expense program for office and travel expenses would be reviewed. It's been 6 months. Will Madam Payette be allowed to use its expense account like all other former GGs?
Okay, I'm assuming that question is for me. Yeah. Although, Selena, you're welcome to give a shot. Look, since we are talking about the Governor General, I think I would like to start by saluting our new Governor General, the first Indigenous person to serve as Governor General of Canada. And for me personally, and I think for very, very many Canadians, her service in that role is a very important step for our country, coming as it does at a time when all of us, very much including the people of British Columbia, have been made freshly and painfully aware of how much work we have to do on reconciliation through some of the mass graves we've discovered at residential schools. So let me start by saying that. When it comes to former Governor Julie Payette, the review needs to be concluded, and upon conclusion, arrangements for her in the future will be finalized.
Okay, and a quick follow-up. Former Governor General's office and travel expenses that taxpayer cover are not disclosed publicly. Why aren't they, and should that change?
You know, I am a big believer that those of us, particularly those of us who serve in elected office, need to strive for transparency. I am very aware every day that I work for the people of Canada, and I try to share with them as much as I can about the work that I'm doing. I also recognize the special role that governors general play. They perform an important service for our country, and of course, unlike those of us here whose names are on a ballot, they're not elected.
Okay, next question if there's one. All right, that concludes today's press conference. Thank you so much, everybody.
Okay.
Merci tout le monde.
Okay.